without outcomes, there is no impact. No impacts at all if there is no outcomes. Similarly, there is no outcomes if outputs never happened. So outcomes take place only there are a set of outputs take place. Is your project able to achieve the outputs? Then you can look at the outcomes. Next, output cannot happen without activities. Similarly, you cannot perform project activity without inputs. Thank you for watching this video. I'm making this video just to respond to some of you who requested me to further explain on my posted on the Facebook a few months ago that I posted this picture, and then some of you would like to have a further explanation on this picture. So this video is for you guys. I'm also gonna send you this video directly as well. But before moving further, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please help me to subscribe my channel. Then you will receive my video automatically whenever I post it on my YouTube channel. So now back to our picture here. As you can see here, I call it a snapshot of project theory change. So since this picture, this one picture describes a project theory change. So what do you mean? What do we mean by project theory change? As many of you know that there's key components in the project theory change, which include inputs, activities, outputs, outcomes, and impacts. So in these pictures, I just give some examples for each one components here. But here I do not include the inputs. So everyone know clearly on the inputs, right? Parts input, that's very easy to understand. So this one, I just focus on activity, outputs, outcomes, and impacts, like you can see over here. What is the activity? So activity is the series of intervention or a single of intervention that project gonna do to generate the outputs. What are they? For example, if your project is gonna working with the students just to aim to change the learning outcome in the country, you work with the students or with the teachers. So some intervention that you provided to the students or to the teacher that are called projects activity. Or another word, we just call projects interventions. Right? So in this picture, I have two examples, which is training and rice plantation. Since this example is about the agricultural projects. So this one is about the training to the farmers and involved in farmer demo farming, that they're gonna be plant the rice using agricultural adaptive techniques. That one. So you can see here one example is about training, another example is about the rice planting. So this is activity for these projects. Then next move to the outputs. So what is the project outputs? So like I said earlier, activity generate the outputs. So outputs are the direct results of the activity. Look at the example that we have here, training. So what could be the direct result of the training? It could be over here, as you can see it over here. Number of training sessions that we conducted, number of participants who participate in the training, or number of days that we conducted the training. So that's all the direct results of training, right? And similarly to the rice planting. So from these outputs, we believe it will lead to generate the outcomes. So what is the outcomes? Outcomes are changes that happen within our target groups. In this example, the target groups are farmers. So any changes with farmers due to the project's interventions, or due to the project's interventions, that is called outcomes, or we can call it project's outcome. So project's outcomes are changes within our target groups due to our project's intervention. Let's look at the example over here. Before moving to example, I just would like to emphasize this. There are three types of changes within a group of target beneficiaries. This is universe theory. There are three types of changes. First is changing their knowledge. So we may set a series or a single of interventions or activity just to change our target group's knowledge or awareness. So how do we set that? It will be based on your contextual analysis. Probably your contextual analysis or your baseline inform you that farmers have limited knowledge on climate change adaptation. So then you might need to conduct a theory of activities or intervention. Normally I said the word theory of interventions, because I don't expect only a single activity would change target group's knowledge, right? So we never expected one training or one study tool would change your target group's knowledge. So we will need to have a series of trainings, series of study tour, or other type of interventions. So in this example, we just would like to increase farmers' knowledge on climate change adaptation. So that is our intention. That is our project's intention to see. By the end of the project, we would like to see some changes on farmers' knowledge toward climate change adaptation. So the second type of change within our target group is changing their knowledge, changing their perception. Agree with me or not, many people have a good knowledge, but their perception, their belief hinder their good practice. They might not change their practice just because they hold a particular of thinking, a belief. For example, farmers in my country, they believe modern agricultural technique would lost the yield. They do not want to apply many modern agricultural techniques just because they believe it might lead to lost the yield. So that's why they keep practicing traditional methods. So again, if you would like to find further, if you would like to explore further a set of your target group's perception or misperceptions, you might need to conduct a qualitative study just to explore the reason why a particular practice have not been implemented. So that's the way that you can get some misunderstanding for your project to tackle on. So just example, in this project, they would like to change farmers' misunderstanding toward using a new technology for agriculture. So that is the project's desire. That is the change that project would like to see within the target group. So now, last type of change within the target group is the practice. So I believe by the end of the day, what we would like to see mostly in the social project, we are working for the changing the social. We would like to change people practice. We would like to change our target group particular practice, right? So that is what our project desire to do. So a change of our target group, in this example, they would like to change farmers' practice using modern methods for their agricultural activities. But for your example, for your project, you might want to change differently. If you're working with the students, you might would like to change student practice. How the way the student read the book, the way the student study, how many hours that student read the book a day. So you might would like to increase that one. How the teachers prepare lesson plan, you might would like to want to change that. So that type of change we call changing target group's behavior. Still, there are outcomes because this sort of change are within our target groups. So then when we change the target groups, we assume that impacts will happen here. So what is the impact? So impacts are changes beyond our target groups. Impacts are any changes that beyond our target groups. What do I mean here? For example, we change farmer practice. More farmers are using modern methods for agriculture. So then what's happened there? So they might get a better yield. They might get more incomes from their rice production, right? So that's kind of thing that is called impacts. Generally or normally, I would classify this change into three. Or normally, I love to look at three type of change at the impact levels or different or impacts. Here, first one, I would like I love or I keen to look at the change within the household. So once they already apply the modern technologies or modern methods for agriculture, what's happened within their household? In this example, I just assume that it will increase household incomes, right? I don't know about your country, but my country, many people are in debt. We are borrowing money from the banks just to do something. So while people get more incomes, we assume that there will be decrease on debt or borrowing. So that's our assumption. So that sort of change, that sort of impact, I'm really keen to look at whenever I conduct an impact assessment for a particular project, especially for the agricultural project. Second type of impacts or change that I also would like to look at is the change within the community. Change in that communes, change in that province. In your project, in that province, just look at the change in that province. Probably you can look at like is in agricultural products. Probably you can look at the rice productions in that province. Just rice production from that particular villages. Or you might look at the community's well-being, how people in that communes in that province live right now. So these are like you can see here, there are three examples that I provided here. I might all interested to look at the schooling rates, because there's kind of correlation between incomes and schooling rate. In my country, that poor people, poor household are not able to send their young kids to school just because they are poor. They would like to keep their kids home and help them. But if they get more money from the rice production, they don't need to keep their kids, or they don't need to send their kids to work or to make money. They just send them to school. So then also something that I'm interested to look at. Number 3 is about at the country level or at the globe level. A global level here, I'm talking about like a global change, since this project also associated with the climate change. So we might look at the global change, the global warming, the heat. Over here, like you said, that this project might contribute to reduce the global heat. That's just one example. Another thing is about the food supply that our country would able to supply for people in the country, or able to export with the agriculture. If you're working at the education sector, we might look at the national literacy in the country. That's kind of thing that is a part of your project, how your project contributed to as well. I would like to emphasize also the impact is the impact is just change that our project contributed to. So we are not responsible to make this change. Our project alone cannot make impacts happen, but we contribute to make this. Family might not increase their incomes, although they change their practice. A household might not be live happier just because of they change their practice. You might know that there's a lot of factors, there are a lot of variables contribute to that one. Just household happiness. There's a lot of factors might contribute to that. Household incomes. There's a lot of factors will contribute to that. But we assume that our project might contribute to it. So that's how we design the project. In a short, as you can see it here, so this is a snapshot of project theory change, which we describe the relationship between each component, how each component change lead to another components happened. We can see it here, activity lead to outputs, make the outputs happen, and then from the outputs will make the outcomes, from the outcomes will make the impacts. In another way, saying in differently, project's impacts could not take place without the occurrence of project's outcomes. So guys, make sure whenever you ask a consultant to conduct project's impact evaluation, please look at the project's outcomes. First, without outcomes, there is no impact. No impacts at all if there is no outcomes. Similarly, there is no outcomes if outputs never happened. So outcomes take place only there are a set of outputs take place. Is your project able to achieve the outputs? Then you can look at the outcomes. Next, output cannot happen without activities. Similarly, you cannot perform project activity without inputs. So guys, that's all for this video. Please feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Just drop your comments in the comment box. I will respond it. In addition, if you would like to see specific video or specific discussion or talks about on a specific topic related to project design, project monitoring and evaluation, research, please feel free to let me know. I will try my best to make the video for you guys. Just before ending, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please help to subscribe my channel. Then you can get my video whenever I post it on my channels. Thanks guys, see you next video.